The issue is balancing the federal budget using the penny plan. And the question to the candidate is, will you commit to introducing and passing a budget based on the penny plan, which calls for spending 1 penny less for every dollar spent by the federal government in the previous year? Americans agree. Washington doesn't run a deficit because we tax too little, but because we spend too much. The need for a balanced federal budget is obvious. The question is, how do we get there? The answer is as simple as it sounds. The penny plan, sometimes called the 1% solution. In a nutshell, the penny plan would require the federal government to spend just 1 penny less next year out of every dollar spent this year. If the government were to do that for 5 years and then limited overall spending at just 18% of gross domestic product, that's the average in the post-war era, we could balance the budget within 5 years. It's important to note that the penny plan does not require all programs to suffer the same 1% reduction in spending. Congress, in its infinite wisdom, may deem some programs more worthy than others. That would be fine, as long as the overall 1 penny per dollar reduction is met. It's also important to note that the penny plan does not recognize so-called baseline budgeting, which assumes ever-growing budgets. The reductions in spending required by the penny plan are not reductions of planned future growth. They're actual reductions in spending. Next year's outlays would be 1% less than this year's outlays, and so on. If Congress fails to enact the required reductions in spending, then mandatory across-the-board reductions would be implemented each year. Once the budget is balanced, the legislation would limit overall federal spending to no more than 18% of gross domestic product. As I said, that's the historical average during the post-war era. That way, the budget stays balanced on a year-to-year basis. If you want to learn more about the yellow card issues, just go to www.teapartypatriots.org/yellow card.